Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to NFR. It's Thursday night. It's 7:30, and that means it's time for DRS. Of course, slightly different here in DRS compared to the other leagues we stream on the channel. That obviously here in DRS we run a full qualifying session. Means Q1, Q2, Q3. At the end of Q1 at the moment we have 19 runners out of the possible 20, so unless anybody joins, that means we're going to be losing 4 drivers at the end of this session. I've seen in the past that if you're not able to fill the lobby, this first session works out as a practice session. Quickest drivers don't really take it too seriously. When there's several elimination spots on the timing sheets, everyone needs to take it a little more seriously. This is Nick Gishin, one of the first men out on track. Lots of action out on track. 5 cars early on in Q1. This is the Williams of Nick Gishin on an outlap. This is Will, also on an outlap. You can see him just aggressively looking for some temperature in those tires. And Shane out there on his own, also on an outlap. Cowboy, Sigrid. No surprises in the tires, and there isn't. Everybody's on the fastest compound available. Gishin still weaving down that back straight, still looking for temperature. Late on in the lap. Evening Panda, evening Marlies, welcome to the stream. Welcome back. Thursday night. Nick Gishin starting a quick lap. You can see his battery just draining there in the middle of the screen. Goes off into turn 1. Difficult turn 1 this. When you think it's over, it just continues. Sharply downhill into a left-hander. Very interesting first segment of corners. One Williams out on track, going for his first timed lap. The other Williams still in the pits. Aphrodox and Namassassin, the pair of RBs, both out on track on outlaps. Will has also started a quick lap, as has Shane, Cowboy and Secret. This is the Ferrari, the other Ferrari of Levy in the pits. This is Shane. Goes over the line, first man over the line into 132.1. Where is Nick Gishin? Is that him getting... Looked like he was looking for slipstream, but very close to a car. Down the penultimate corner. Four drivers have set laps. Now Nick Gishin over the line, quickest of them all, a 132.0, just a tenth quicker. Look at the gap between the top 3, just a tenth of a second. Hopefully there's more of this to come. Arno Close, also on an outlap. Rather, he's on a quick lap, his teammates on an outlap. Then the pair of McLarens, both having their first attempt at this layout tonight. This is Fuster, one of the 2 McLarens. The other McLaren is Rota. There's 19 drivers in the field. That means one unlucky driver is missing a teammate. I'm going to try to figure out who that is, but Will probably take me a while. In fact, it didn't take me a while. It's the Red Bull. Just have one Red Bull in the field, everybody else has their teammate. So a lot of weight on that one Red Bull to score points here tonight. We followed this lap with Fuster. Good enough for P6, 134.8. The lap times at the front so close. Nick Gishin 32.0, Shane 32.1. We've got a 32.4 from Afro. That is Arno Kos. Then Will P4, he's returning to the pits. Rota, first of the two McLarens, 135.2. Then Secret, the only Red Bull. Assassin looking for his first lap time. His teammate up in P3 on the second row. He goes P9, 134.6. Let's see who else is out on track. This is Panda. Almost looked like the car was going to go sideways there. Maybe it was just the camera angle. Maybe it was a good save. We'll never really know. Panda, no lap time just yet. This corner here, you've got to be so patient. You've got to get this exit just right. It's all about this straight. You open up DRS. The exit of that. Did you call it a hairpin? I don't think you can call it a hairpin. But the exit of that corner, very, very important to the second longest straight on the circuit. This is Panda, goes P5, good first run, 132.9. Remember, this isn't going to be your grid for the race. This is to determine the slowest 4 cars. Should be 5, we're missing a driver. These 4 cars will be eliminated as things stand. So that drivers looking to set their lap times. Wezo on an outlap, J-Boy on an outlap, that's the pair of Salbers. Then Levy in the other Ferrari, he is also on an outlap. His teammate up on the front row. Shane back out on track, getting some practice in. Surely he feels safe with that lap, no chance of elimination, but it's going out again. Don't be surprised if these are just used tyres. And they are used tyres, you can see there on your screen. Guys just putting some laps in. I know they're safe. Always helps. Save a set of tyres for the race if you can. Some won't be able to do that. They'll use every set of tyres they can to squeeze into Q3. That does leave you with a slight disadvantage in the race. It's 19 cars. This is a very technical turn 1. It's very wide. And it invites cars to go 3, sometimes 4 cars wide. And right over here, it funnels. And usually ends in disaster. So hopefully everybody will be cautious into turn 1. Of course, it's the part of the race when you can make up the most positions in the shortest amount of time. Everybody's so close together. Some of the cars struggling to get momentum, some of the cars still wriggling around. You might see a gap, might get over ambitious. and just destroy your race into turn 1. That's not really what you want to do after such a long qualifying session. Ruin everything into turn 1. Of course, a lot of these drivers have put time in. They've been doing laps of this circuit prior to the race in their own little private practice sessions. In the other leagues, I don't mention too much sandbagging. That's because we just get the one quali session and it's 18 minutes long. Guys, don't mess around too much. Get one or two of those runs wrong, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of the grid. But here in DRS, we've got the full qualifying session. And it means that the quickest guys in the field might not show all of their cards just yet. Welcome to Jean. Welcome back to Thursday night's DRS. Season 11, round 5. And we're in Shanghai, China. If there's anybody in the comment section that's able to share the stream real quick. People in Discord asking for a link. Top 2 drivers, front row so far, Nick Gishin and Shane, they've both retired from the session, so feeling safe, not needing to take any more risks. Let's also remember, every single lap these guys spend on track unnecessarily is a risk. I've seen guys crash going very slowly. I've seen guys crash on formation laps and under safety cars. The last thing you want to do is crash in Q1. And remove yourself from qualifying for the rest of the evening. Of course, regardless of your lap time, you could have the quickest lap time in the session. If you get terminal damage to that car, you do not come back into qualifying. That is your session. We're riding with the second Ferrari. Good evening so far for the Ferraris, P2 and 4. Still more time to come from most of these drivers. Currently at risk, Fuster P16, Kev P17, he's in the pits, Namassassin 18, he is out on track, and then Cowboy at the rear of the field, P19. I'm not sure if that was a voluntary retirement or if he made a mistake. He set a 1:35.6 and has since retired, so that guarantees his exit from qualifying. That means we'll just lose the 3 cars. Currently Fuster, Kev and Namassassin are the cars at risk. Was just on the other side of that, Stoffel P15, Dan Rietveld 14, Secret 13. Those cars are going to have to be out on track to defend those laps. They're not going to have the same pleasure as the drivers out front. Those drivers go out, set a lap time, say yep, that's a safe one, and they go sit in the pits. Sometimes they even retire from the session. That's how confident they are. Fortunately for the guys towards the rear of the field, you can't do that. You need to stay out on track. You need to defend that lap time. Maybe in P15 now, but that may change before the end of the session. This is Stoffel, currently P15, just inside where he needs to be, but Namassassin, Fuster and Kev will undoubtedly be looking for something better. Wezo, I was going to say, is still in the session, but he has also retired. So the top three have retired from the session. Then Levy P4, Arnachos P5, J-Boy P6, and now Secret, the one and only Red Bull in the field. Looks to have put that car safe. Panda P10, Will P11, Boinkies P12. Now Namassassin, Fuster, and Kev. These are the three drivers at risk. And with just 2 minutes remaining on the clock, I don't think Namassassin will get out again. So Namassassin will be the first car to be eliminated. Fuster goes over the line and he slows down. I think he did improve the lap time just a little. He wasn't able to improve the position, so that means P17. Also very likely an elimination. The only driver there in the elimination places that can still save himself is this driver here, Kev, in the Alpine. Namassassin P16 will take no further part. Fuster P17 on his way back to the pits. So the only driver in that elimination zone that can still turn things around is this man over here. Everybody else out on track will be going through. Of course, you guys must, I see there's a few of you in the comment section. You must also let me know if you want to see more onboard action of a certain driver. We can try and keep our eyes on the drivers you highlight. Sometimes I can go through an entire race without focusing on a specific driver. They just sort of get lost in the field. So if you want footage of a specific driver and I'm not giving it to you, mention it in the comments. This is Dan Rietveld, currently P15, and he's actually just fallen. He's gone into P16 and a very late lap from Kev pushes him up into P15 just enough. 33.4. Dan Rietveld here on a 33.5. Battery's discharging quickly, so this is a quick lap. He's going to need to find 2/10. Saw the car squirming around, but he's done well enough. It's good enough for P12. And Kev climbed out of that elimination zone ever so briefly. About half a lap later, he was sent back. So eliminated from Q1, Kev, Namassassin, Fuster, and Cowboy. Of course, welcome to everyone in the comment section. Panda, Marley, Jean, Dean, and Bonita. Of course, the only way I know you're here is if you comment. So leave a comment, let me know you're here. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, if this is your first visit, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get that link every time we upload on a Thursday night. And if you have already subscribed, well, then just leave a like. It's Kev returning to the pits. Be frustrated. He did just enough to climb out of that zone, out of that elimination zone, got himself up into P15. Then immediately Dan Rietveld took that position away from him. So now we just wait for the end of the session. Welcome to Pampun. Also another one that should be in the car. There are your official results for Q1. Remember, this does not set your grid order. Simply the elimination of the first four drivers. Nick Gishin P1, then Shane, Wezo P3, followed by Levy, Arno Ghost, J-Boy, Zero to Pool, Secret, Kurbis, Panda, Will, Dan Rietveld, Boinkies, Stoffel, and Rota. Eliminated from the session, Kev, Namassassin, Fuster, and Cowboy. Of course, now more of the same. We head off into Q2. This time we will lose 5 drivers. Going into Q3, the session's going to be a little shorter. Just the 15 minutes this time round. Means you're probably going to get at least one run less. Means you can't sit around in the pits too much messing around. You want to get out there, set a lap time. We're going to have 5 drivers eliminated at the end of this session. And then obviously going through to Q3 will just be the top 10 for a final shootout to set the grid order. There we go. Already got Salba out on track. It's J-Boy. J-Boy, Quivers, Levy, Panda, now Dan Rietveld. All drivers out on track. I've been asking who is Shane. I think he's 3-time JPR champion, something like that. He's also my teammate on a Friday night, where we're currently leading the Constructors' Championship. He's obviously one of the favourites for tonight, one of the quicker drivers in the field. See Nick Gishin, another one of those drivers. Wankies, driver we saw earlier last night. Driver who doesn't pick up a lot of penalties. Sort of goes anonymous in the qualifying session, isn't usually one of the quickest, isn't usually up there on the front 2 rows. Come race time, just manages to stay out of trouble and then pops up at the top of the field when you least expect it. This is the Salba of Wezo. He had issues early on in the session. We saw him leave the lobby. Good to see he got back into that car, set a lap time. Wezo out on track. Then the 2 Williams, Nick Gishin, Zero to Cool still in the pits. Arno Ghost still in the pits. We've got Will, J-Boy and Kurbis all out on track. Rotor on an outlap. Busy racetrack. Early days in Q2. Got a purple sector there from Kurbis. Quickest sector 2 of the session so far. I think that's either because he's the... Is he the first man on the track? Yes, he is. He's the first man on the track, so that will explain all the purples. Ooh, just couldn't get it slowed down, couldn't stay to the apex, went a little bit wide. He's dived into the pits. He's given up on that first run completely. That means J-Boy will be the first man over the line. Let's see what his lap time is. I've got to move that sponsor. It's blocking my lap times. It's a 1:33.5. Now the time's starting to come in. Levy goes quickest. 32. 32.3, then J-Boy a 33.3, so 1 second there between the top two runners, but still lots of drivers. Still lots of drivers yet to put in a lap time. Van Boon putting in virtual bets. Just frustratingly missing that one car. 19 drivers in the field. Always great to see all 20, but unfortunately Red Bull is missing a driver. Sort of mirroring real life. Of course, if you are an F1 fan, you'll know that there's a lot of pressure on Sergio Perez this weekend. And if he has a bad weekend, we might not see him after the summer break. Shane dives into the pits after that first run, so he did not set a lap time. Another one to watch, Nick Gishin. No lap time from him yet. Seen races with Nick Gishin and Shane where they really match each other on pace. Let's see what he can come up with. Shane had to back out of the lap. Wasn't the first driver to back out of his fast lap. That's why we have half the field with no lap time next to their name, with just 8.5 minutes remaining in the session. That side of the field will really want to get on with things. Nick Gishin now finishing off his lap. Hopefully he doesn't dive into the pits too. If he doesn't, goes into the final corner, and let's see what he can come up with for a first run. It's good enough for P2. We couldn't see Arno. Arno went into P1, and then we've got Nick in P2, and look at the lap times. It's as close as it's going to get. Unfortunately, it's Q2, so that's not going to set pole position or the front row. This session is simply to determine the slowest 5 drivers. Those drivers will be eliminated, and then we will go into a top 10 shootout that will determine pole position. So this is the quickest man on the night so far. 132.1, and Nick Gishin also a 132.1. The difference between those two, just 17 hundredths of a second. As close as that is, we've actually seen closer than that on this channel. We've seen identical lap times on more than one occasion. This is 0 to cool. His teammate, second fastest man out on circuit. 0 to cool yet to set a lap time, as is Quibus, as is Shane. Shane's back on an outlap. He had a run. Run obviously didn't go according to plan because he returned to the pits and hasn't set a lap time since. So he'll be looking to rectify that situation. For the drivers that are in the comment section, can you just confirm for me that the race has no interesting weather on the way? I think if there was rain in the race, somebody would have mentioned it already. It's usually a big deal. This is one of the drivers that should be towards the top of the field, but he hasn't set the lap time yet. 3 drivers haven't set lap times yet. 0 to cool, Shane, Poinky. This is that Ferrari. Confirmation of no unexpected weather. Of course, rain can make things very interesting. At times it can equalize things. Drivers who have incredible pace sometimes don't put in as much practice in the rain. You just see the gaps close up a little. But tonight will not be that night. Dry weather throughout. Arno, I see you've got a lot of supporters here this evening. Arno Ghost retires from Q2. He's happy with that time. He is safe. And Shane just finds a little extra. Let's say a lot extra. First driver into the 131s. Nick Kishan stays in the pits. I don't think any of these drivers at the top of the field are going to come out. No real need. The only drivers that will be out there are the drivers that absolutely need to be out there. Drivers currently in that elimination zone are Panda, Dan, Rietveld, Rota and Boinky. Stoffel of course retired early on, so we're just going to be losing 4 cars from the session as we did in Q3. It's the one and only Red Bull off the circuit, so that's not how he's going to be able to improve on his lap. Current best of 134.0. So we go up to 0 to cool. Currently in P7 with a 132.5. He will also be safe as things stand. Remember, still just over 3.5 minutes remaining. I think we're still going to see the likes of Panda coming out of the pits. Surely he's not going to accept P12. He wants to go further on in the session. Lots of support for Arno, lots of support for Shane. That lap was on fire. Boinkies in one of the 2 Mercedes. I think the other Mercedes has already been eliminated because we don't see him on the screen. Boinkies in P6, 132.4. Would have been happy with that lap time until he saw the guys starting to dip into the 31s. Say the guys, but there's only been one driver to dip into the 131s. I assure you, there will be more in Q3. I'm still not convinced that the drivers at the top are showing absolutely everything. I've even seen evidence of it in the past. Guys getting off DRS way earlier than they would normally do, or just activating it way later than they would normally do. Maybe just backing off into a corner that you would usually take full throttle. They just don't show absolutely everything. And even though they'll all deny it, when you get to Q3, the lap times mysteriously come down. Go to the rear of the field, to the drivers that are at risk. Panda is on an outlap. He will be able to get around before the checkered flag falls. Then Dan Rietveld. He is on an attempted quick lap. He's currently got a 134.1. Just managed to get himself into Q2 right at the end with that final run. And now he's doing more of the same in Q2. He's going to have to do something special to get himself up into the top 10. I wouldn't say J-Boy's time is absolutely safe. It's a 33. Huge gap in the times there between 9 and 11. Shane now also wanting to get in with the virtual bets. This is Will, 132.4. These drivers will be safe. J-Boy 33.2, Secret 34.0, Panda also a 34.0. This is Panda now. We join him going down the back straight, around penultimate corner. And get one last dash at a straight before you head on to the main straight. Panda leads it late, but does the job. Goes up into P3. It's a 132.1, not quite a 31, but close enough. And if you haven't noticed, we also have a Ferrari 1.2. We were looking for Rota to see if he could improve. Well, there's your answer. It's not even down the escape road, he's just gone straight down along the Armco barrier, found the DHL advertising at the end of the gravel trap. And that'll be the end of that for the McLaren driver. Secret has also crossed the checker flag. The only man who could climb into Q3 at this stage is the Williams driver, Zero to Cool, currently in P11. All of the other drivers in the elimination zone, their session has come to an end. This is the last man that can improve. Goes around the final corner. I assume there is an improvement there, or he would have backed out. Goes over the line. Stays P11. Yes, that's the end of Q2. Just going to wait for those official results. Remember, the slowest 5 drivers, they are eliminated. We go through to Q3, the shortest of the 3 qualifying sessions. Everybody's just got 12 minutes to get around. And that's going to set the first 5 rows of the field for the race. So there are your results real quick. Shane, P1, followed by Levy, Panda, Arnokos, Nick Gishen, Wezo, Dan Ritfeld, Burbis, Wankies, and Will. Then eliminated from qualifying, Zero to Cool, J-Boy, Rota, Secret, and Stoffel. And now one last time. Q3. This is the important one. This is where you get pole position. This is what sets the first 5 rows for the race. And you'd rather want to be towards the front of those rows. Really don't want to be in the midfield for a race that has a full lineup going into turn 1 in China. Midfield could, or is probably going to be the messiest place to be. Got Dirk in the comment section just saying that Secret had a wheel disconnect. Had that happen in the race. And when you're really into a race and that happens, well, you can get quite a fright. Suddenly everything goes away. All the feedback, all the force feedback, the wheel just goes dead. And the car typically goes straight. Not a problem for some of these drivers in the field, because believe it or not, some of the quickest drivers in this field drive on a controller. Not quite sure how they do it. They've shown it is more than possible to be just as quick as the quickest using a controller. Fortunately for myself, that's not something I could do. Last time I tried to race with a controller, I almost broke the controller. Shane coming out of the pits. You see now none of the drivers have set lap times just yet. We do have 5 cars on outlaps. Make that 6. Arno Coast remains in the pits. Will remains in the pits, as does his teammate. Levy also in the pits. And Boinkies. Something for all the drivers to watch out for. If you watch the race on Monday night and on Wednesday night, both of those races had lots of penalties. Of course, this is a very different layout. But it's one of those tracks. Very wide tarmac. Lots of runoff. Sometimes it just invites driving a little bit more aggressive. When you know there's not gravel on the outside of a corner, just take too much, and the next thing you know, you've racked up the penalties column and effectively ruined your race. Stream getting busier and busier as we approach the business end now of qualifying. Q3, we're starting to see the first purple sectors coming up on the screen. Wezo, he's out on track. Nick Gishin out on track. DRS open, so he's attacking. Let's bring up some of the data for the cars and get a better idea of who's doing what. There we go, you can see he's on a quick lap because his battery's almost flat. Nick Gishin sets the fastest time so far. That's also because he's the first man over the line. Let's see what everybody else can do. Wezo now over the line. Let's say 1:32.0. Only good enough for P2. Arno Coast on an outlap, as you can see. Just weaving around looking for tire temperature. This is Panda approaching the end of his first run. We also have Shane out on track and Richard. Also on a quick lap. Let's see where this puts Panda. Good enough for P3. 1:34.5. Don't think that's a representative lap. I think he made a mistake. A rather big mistake. We know he's quicker than that. This is Arno Coast. He's just started his first quick attempt of Q3. You can get the quickest lap time in Q1, you can get the quickest lap time in Q2, but it means nothing if you get it all wrong in Q3. Also coming to the channel in the near future. I just need to confirm those dates with you, but the races will be on Tuesday. It will be 3 rounds, league versus league. Most of those leagues I do commentate on this channel. It's going to be SAFRL, SKR, DRS, JPR and LSA. 4 drivers from each league over 3 rounds. Obviously no drivers championship. It will be just a team championship. It's something different. Make a note of it. Effectively, we're going to get 3 races where the best 4 drivers, the best 4 representatives from each league will be on the tarmac racing against each other, pace versus pace. This is Levy, 132.3. His teammate, 132.8. Returns to the pits. Shane didn't have the first run he would have wanted. We saw him go almost a second quicker than that in Q2. Still a lot more to come, but Q3 does go by very fast. So you need to get into the pits, decide what you're going to do next, and get back out there. You might also want to have a look at the track map before you leave the garage. Just make sure you're not going to drive yourself into traffic. Really need to get that final run perfect. Of course, this is the best time to qualify, just 10 cars in the session. You're at the most risk of traffic right at the beginning in Q1, when we had 19 drivers trying to get around setting their lap times. Things can get a bit crowded. We'll say now with Arno Hurst as he approaches the final corner. This should be his first timed lap. Let's see what it can do for him. It's good enough for P2. Puts him up on the front row next to Nick Gishen. Those times also incredibly close. Nick Gishen 131.898. Arno Hurst 131.9 flat. That is 0.02 of a second. I told you the gaps could get even closer. Now everybody's in the pits with the exception of Arno Hurst. He's on his way back to the pits. He's just set his lap time slightly out of sync with everybody else. All of those drivers in the pits, they will be getting ready for their final run. Sean just commenting on the lap times being insanely close. And you know what's even more impressive about these lap times being so close is that lots of times the drivers are using completely different setups. The car is set up differently. The one driver might be on controller, the other driver might be on a wheel, and somehow they match each other down to 0.02 of a second. Calls into question if F1 needs an additional 4th decimal. Of course, the most famous occurrence of exact lap times will always be, in my opinion, Jerez 1997. I don't see that record being broken anytime soon. 3 drivers setting identical lap times, P1, P2 and P3 had identical lap times at Jerez in 1997, meaning if you were the 3rd driver to set that pole lap, you had to start on the 2nd row, even though technically you had pole position. Of course, if we ever do have a situation where drivers set the exact same lap time, the way it gets worked out is simply the driver who set it first gets to keep the position. That's something you don't need to worry about because it's not something we expect to see. Very rare occurrence, of course, identical lap times. But we do see how close these lap times are. Look at that, 131.89, 131.9 flat, 132.0. It looks like those guys are far away because they're in the 32s, but they're in the low 32s. So you got to remember, just another 2 or 3 tenths, they join those 31s, and this entire timesheet could still flip before the end of the session. Just under 1.5 minutes remaining. Half the field on outlaps, the other half the field on their final run. This is Nick Gishen, one of the drivers on his final run. Is he? Seems like this is still an outlap. Battery is fully charged. We're looking for the drivers that are discharging that battery in a hurry. This is one of the drivers discharging the battery. Wezo on a quick lap. Kurbis also on a quick lap. Very busy track now, all 10 drivers out on track. We've got the fastest lap time now. Shane goes quickest. He beats the 1:31.898, immediately pulls off the circuit to make sure he doesn't impede any other drivers. Nick Gishin will be appreciative of that. Goes into turn 1 unheeded. This is Arno Vos coming to the end of his outlap. He is cutting it a little close, just 15 seconds remaining on the clock. Remember, he needs to get over the checkered flag, otherwise he's not going to have this final run. And that's as close as you want it to be. He's going to get over the line. Does he get over the line? Yes, he does. He gets over the line with 1 second remaining on the clock. It's impossible to time that any better. Arno Vos will get one final attempt. Remember, if he had made any sort of mistake on that lap, he wouldn't have made his final run. Checkered flag has fallen for Will, Panda and Boinkies. This is Arno Vos, currently P4. Levy's put the second Ferrari up onto the second row, 1:31.7. Then Nick Gishin is a 31.8, but he's still out on track looking to improve. As is Arno Vos, not far behind the Williams. We're going to see the final laps coming in now. Nick Gishin about to go over the line. Current best 31.7. Gone up to P3. Not the sort of improvement he would have been looking for. This is now Arno Vos coming to the end of his session. He was very, very lucky to get over the line when he did. Literally just 1 second on the clock. And got a chance at a final lap. But unfortunately for him, loses it around probably the slowest part of the race circuit. And he's not going to be able to improve. He's going to have to start from the third row. And he'll be disappointed. Did a lot of work to get out there, to get over the line just in time. Must have been a very fast outlap. But he's not going to be able to improve. We'll just wait for the official results before we read them out. Yes, Pampun now says he is richer in the virtual world. So pretty split down the middle here in the support in the comment section. A lot for Shane, a lot for Arno Vos. I'm just going to read out those official results and then I'm just going to go radio silent for about a minute. I will be back. Please do stay with the stream. So there's your official results, the first 5 rows of the grid. Shane P1, followed by Wezo, then Nick Gishin P3, followed by Levy, then Arno Vos, Kurbis, Will, Panda, Boinkies, and Dan Redfeld. Folks, give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Stay with the stream. If you haven't left a like, leave a like. And we're back. And we're back just in time. We get the dual green lights. That means we're going to have a formation lap. Chance for everybody to get around, have one more look at the circuit, get a feel for the car with the full tank. This is going to be quite a crucial formation lap. These guys need to get temperature into the tires, into the brakes. Can't emphasize how important this turn 1 is. If everyone can get through turn 1 nicely and the race settles down, that'll be fine. But we've seen lots of occasions here at China where turn 1 can be quite challenging. It's just so wide, invites so many cars to go side by side. And then when it goes downhill into the left-hander, you suddenly run out of space. And everybody tries to take up the same piece of tarmac. End result, busy pit lane at the end of lap 1. Don't be too concerned if you see 2 disqualifications there on your screen. Those are just drivers that have obviously made contact during the formation lap. Luckily for them, you do not pick up any damage on that formation lap if you do make contact. The disqualification simply sends you back to the grid where you will sit in your grid box, basically like in the naughty corner. You just have to sit there while everybody else drives around the circuit, warming up their tires, taking their time. You sit there, tires ice cold, brakes ice cold, looking at turn 1, wondering, I hope I get this right. Benita showing support, Marley showing support, lots of support in the comment section, great to see. Of course, this is now the business end of things. We wait for the red lights. I'm on board. We don't get the best camera angles for the start of the race on this game for some reason. All the disqualifications you see, those are drivers that didn't get their parking right. They're going to be pushed back slightly. A little bit of a disadvantage at the race start. There are your red lights. Going to be 5 of them. They're going to go off, and all of these cars, they're going to go off too. Here we go. Let's see if we get a better camera angle. No, we don't. Where is the better camera angle? There we go. Into turn 1. I said this turn 1 was going to be so important. Looks like everybody there getting through nicely. You're right on board with the Ferrari in P4. This is Levy. You see how tight it gets into that left-hander. You suddenly just run out of tarmac. And that's how quickly things can go wrong. You just lose a little bit of momentum. Your tires are cold. You get it on the grass. Field is so close together at that stage. You'll end up losing 2 or 3 positions, and now he's done it again. Levy gets into contact with the Sauber. J-Boy and Levy, the 2 guilty parties. And one of the Ferraris leads the way. The other one right at the rear of the field, not having the start of the race he would have wanted. Don't count him out. We know Levy's an incredibly quick driver. Still a lot can happen in this race. We've seen races with safety cars. We have had confirmation that weather won't be interrupting this race in any way. So if we do have any interruptions, if you're a driver at the back hoping to come back into this, you will be hoping for safety cars. If you're a driver at the front managing his pace, managing his tires, then you won't want safety cars. Shane leads from Nick Geshen. Then we've got Quibus in P3, Wezo in P4. This is Arno Kos in the RB, currently in P5. Cars still very close together, very early stages of the race. 28 laps will be the race distance. There are your possible strategies, a 1-stop or a 2-stop. Not sure that second pit stop made a lot of sense to me, but do let me know. Shane does throw out some pretty odd predictions from time to time. So Shane out at the front, 2.3 seconds is the gap. Nick Gishin in P2, working on reeling in that gap. Doesn't want the Ferrari to get too far down the road. Then Kurbis in P3. Also a steady driver. He'll be wanting to hold on to that position, but he's coming under pressure. Wezo gets past the Aston Martin. And now we have 2 Ferrari powered cars in the top 3. Fortunately, they're not both Ferraris. But speaking of that second Ferrari, it's making up ground. Levy, if we look at the front wing real quick, no damage on that front wing, so good news for Levy. No penalties next to his name either. So he did lose all those positions, but it could have been a lot worse. Remember, a broken wing will force a pit stop, cost you a further 25 to 30 seconds. Sometimes you get penalties for leaving the track, penalties for collisions. So at least there was none of that. But there was all the positions lost, and he's going to have to do a lot of work to get them back. He's driving aggressively, he wants to make up the positions. This is obviously a driver you can see that's a little annoyed at the start of the race, wants to get on with it. He's not really following anyone around, goes for the gap the first time he sees it. At our first retirement, we look quickly to the track map. Don't see a safety car for now. Hopefully we don't get a safety car for now. It's way too early to get a safety car. Safety car at this point would help anyone who's got damage early on in the race, but it wouldn't help anybody else. Luckily, that is no longer a threat. The caution goes away, and Shane still leads by just over 2 seconds. Gap is not really coming down, but it's not expanding either, so it looks like those 2 drivers just managing their pace. These 2 are definitely not managing their pace. Kurbis P3 defending from Wezo. Wezo very aggressive there at the back. Then Boinky's P5, Will P6, Kev P7, Arno Coast has gone backwards. He's down in P8. Not quite sure what happened with DRB, but he's lost a handful of positions. Then Twister in P9, Levy making up positions at an alarming rate. We saw him go all the way down to P18 at a stage. He's now back up into P10. Looking to get that Ferrari up towards the top of the field. His teammate has done half of the job. Gishin, gap is now starting to go in the wrong direction. 2.9 seconds, and as I say, it pops up to 3. So Shane is getting away at this point. We join Curtis just as we see the car going sideways. Very, very early for those mediums to start slipping. This is Wezo with Kurbis side by side for the umpteenth time. These 2 simply can't decide who should be in P3. For now, it's Wezo in P3. Nothing much to speak of at the front. Shane still extending the gap. Then we'll go further back. We've got Boinkies defending from Will. That is for P5. We also have Kev in P7. Then Arno Coast having a quiet race for now. Just a moment to take a breather. That's when you have a relatively big gap behind you, a decent gap in front of you. You've just got a bit of clean air. You're not in that battle, that madness. Just get to clear your head and go again. And whatever caused him to lose those positions, we know he's got pace. We saw it in quali, we saw it in first few laps of the race. We'll be able to come back into this. Driver I mentioned in qualifying, that he sort of goes under the radar in qualifying. And then come the race, there he is, Boinkies, in P5. He's made up a lot of positions at the start of the race. He's also a driver, I remind you, doesn't not pick up penalties very often. But so far, drivers really behaving themselves. We have lost the one driver, so we're down to 18 runners, but out of the 18 runners, no penalties on lap 5. This is Shane. He's out in front by himself, but you can see he's pushing. Car just going very sideways there on the exit of the final corner, and you can see he actually lost 3 tenths because of that little slip. So even when you're out there in front, so important, anything can break your concentration. If you happen to be at the wrong part of the circuit, when you lose that concentration, you're done. Front 3 seconds, the gap remains the same. Then Kurbis in P3, still being put under pressure from Wezo. He's in P3, but he's not getting to enjoy P3. He's had to defend that position and he's lost it multiple times, had to retake it. Boinkies in P5. He's followed by Will. He's also within DRS. Then Kev P7, Arno Coast P8. Looking to get within DRS of the Alpine ahead of him so he can start making up positions again, climbing back up towards the top of the field where he should be. We saw Levy got all the way up to P10. Well, he's made up another position, now up into P9. Next car in his target will be Arno Coast, but that is still quite a way up the road. 3.2 seconds before he's going to catch up with the RB. At the front, gap is firm at 3 seconds, not increasing, not decreasing. Someone is pushing and someone is managing the pace. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is they're just matching each other's lap times lap after lap. But as Shane drives away 3.4 seconds, Nick Gishin also now starting to come under pressure from the likes of Kurbis and Wezo. They've been in a battle for the longest time, but now this is becoming a 3-car DRS battle. And as I say that, Nick Gishin, wonder if he was just feeling the pressure, or if those mediums didn't give him the grip he expected. Just goes to the inside of the track, over the grass, loses 2 positions, and now the men that were fighting over P3, they get to fight over P2. Kurbis in P2, Wezo in P3, and now we'll watch that gap, see if it comes down. Nick wasn't able to close it for all that time that it was in P2. We'll see how that gap translates with Kurbis in P2. Of course, with that incident, the gap is now 4.3 seconds. It was 3 seconds before the incident. So Shane was able to gain another 1.3 seconds from that mistake. Arno Coast, followed by Kev, then Lebby in P9. Said he had 3 odd seconds to catch the car ahead. It's now 2.7, so he's definitely on the move. He's on the medium tyre, same as the leader. Most of the drivers up there on mediums, but if you look at Wezo, What makes this drive even more impressive is keeping up with these medium runners. He's matching them, he's putting them under pressure, and he's on the hard compound. So he's on a different strategy to everyone else around him. And technically, he should be slower than the cars around him at this stage in the race. Of course, mediums will fall off. And then the track will come to the hard runners. Not quite sure where that crossover point is. 28 laps in the race, so I'm guessing round about between lap 10 to lap 12. Those mediums will be reaching the end of their lifespan. And I think a lot of drivers will simply get on the hard and try to take it to the end of the race. That is, of course, if we have a simple race. If we have any safety cars or anything like that, pit stop strategies will look very different. This is Will, first driver in the field to pick up a penalty this evening. That is a 3-second penalty, so track infringements, going over the white lines one too many times. Not sure there's many places you want to go over the white lines. There's a lot of grass on the outside of this circuit. With a lot of drivers just having tire temp issues on this particular game. Last thing you want to do is spend any time on the grass. Nick Gishin, P5. Boinkies, P4. Further up the road, Quibus versus Wezo. These two are simply magnetic. Whether they were fighting for P3 earlier on in the race, now they're fighting for P2, and they simply trade positions every DRS zone they can get. Wezo now leads those two. Quibus into P3, but I'm sure we're going to see those swap again. Boinkies will just be able to see the fun up ahead. It's not close enough to be part of it. But he'll be saying in the back of his mind, yes, carry on fighting. And he'll be hoping for any sort of a nudge between those two, and he'll be catching up to them very quickly. We've got a caution flashing up on our screens. It has since disappeared, and we still have all 18 drivers. Maybe just somebody having an off-track excursion. Only saying the race is nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking for the man out front. But as for P2 here, seems like Quibus now dropping off for the first time in the race. I think, and this is just me assuming, I think those mediums are starting to fall off. Of course, they'll still have a few laps in them, but that absolute peak of the medium, it's gone. And that means the hard runners, the track is now coming to them. And that means Wezo was able to make the overtake, and then he actually built up a bit of a lead, but now Quibus coming back at him, 7/10 of a second. Very powerful DRS zone here in China. He's going to get another bit of a straight now. And then another DRS zone. So Wezo be hoping to hold on to P2 for a while now that he saw that gap growing, and now he'll see Quibus right back in his mirrors again. Don't know if he's going to be close enough this time around. 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. Actually lost a bit of time there under the braking. I wonder if he's just not as confident on those mediums, braking a little earlier than he would normally. This is Arno Goos in P6. Has made up 2 positions, went down to P8, picked up 2 positions, gone up into P6, got 2 cars very close behind him. That's Kev and Levy. Levy, one of the drivers, making his way up through the field. Of course, had a good starting position. Got through turn 1 and turn 2 cleanly, but then everything went wrong. Found himself right at the rear of the field. And now all the way up to P8. And this is before the first pit window. If he's able to pull some sort of an undercut, he can make up even more positions in that pit window. Crucial time in the race coming up now. When do you pit? Of course, for some drivers, pit stops have already been made. In most cases, that would have been damage to the car. Unplanned pit stops, unwanted pit stops. As for everyone in the, what is that, the top 12, everyone in the top 12 still on their original strategy, on the tires they started the race on. Then Nick Gishin, Zero to Cool, Dan Rietveld, Cowboy and Secret have all made pit stops. Twister there in P15, also on the tire he started on. Just not having the pace he'd like around this Shanghai layout. Of course, the Grand Prix here in Shanghai was F1's second attempt at a Grand Prix in China. The first one fell a little flat, or very flat, after big investments were made. Nothing came from it. The track was half built and then later destroyed. Beijing Grand Prix never came to be. Then just a few years later, Shanghai, purpose built for F1, perfect venue, and one of Herman Tilke's first tracks. Not his first, but I'd say one of his first 5 tracks, one of his first 3. Yeah, one of his first 3. I think Herman Tilke's first track was Bahrain. It was Malaysia, and then Bahrain, and then this one. There we go, top 3. Wezo in P2. Remember, he's on the hard tire. He's going to be slightly out of sync with these runners around him. We're still waiting to see who is going to be the first of those medium runners to come in, get rid of those tires. I think Nick Gishin was on mediums. He got rid of those tires pretty early, 3 laps ago already. Shane out in front. He is on the medium tire. Still seems to be happy. He's increasing the gap at the front. So long as the gaps are increasing, you don't need to be worrying about the tires. The problem is when those gaps quickly start decreasing. You start losing handfuls of tenths per sector. And you can see the car just getting squirmy there. Such an important corner to get the very best exit, to get the very top speed down this straight. And when the car's swerving around when it's not supposed to, use a lot of lap time down this straight. Wonder how much longer he will stay out there. Let's just keep our eyes on the Ferrari real quick, see if he goes around again or if he peels off into the pits. And there we go, he peels off into the pits. I think Wezo will definitely stay out. He's on the hard tyre. Yes, he does. He will take the lead of the race. Then Kurbis also responding. Boinky's doing something different. He was also on the medium tyre. He's decided to stay out. He has not responded to the actions of the leader. So he goes up into P2, still on the medium. Maybe looking to extend that medium by a lap or 2 so he could have a slight tyre advantage on the guys around him at the end of the race. We've seen drivers do that in the past. And sometimes it can make quite the difference if everybody else is having to do a bit of tyre management to stretch their tyres. And you still have 4 or 5 laps to go on your set. Stoffel for Haas. I haven't spoken too much about Haas this evening. One of them in P8, the other one down in P14. Stoffel and Panda. double points so far for this Ferrari team, as well as Sauber, as well as Aston Martin. Difficult race this to be in the points. The only way you can get in the points is being one of the quickest. We've seen sometimes get a lobby of 15 drivers, get a handful of retirements, and you're pretty much confirmed to be in the points. But on an occasion like this, it's really difficult to be up there in the top 10, because this is a close field, it's a class field. And winning in a field like that just means a little bit more. Arno Koos, he is in P4. He has not made a pit stop. He was one of the drivers on the hard compound. So now it's Wezo followed by Will, then Arno Koos. Big gap between those top three though, 13 seconds covering the top three cars on the track. Shane now in P4, and he has made a pit stop. He's going to have fresh hards versus old hards, and he's going to make easy work of it. Goes around the outside. The RB doesn't do too much to defend. Knows he's on a very different strategy. And Shane goes up into P3, although he is provisionally in the lead of the race. Arno Koos P4, then J-Boy P5, Pointy's P6. We've got Kobus, he was in P3 before the pit stops, now down in P7. And this will just be a little annoying. He'd want to come through the field. Pointy's put out of sequence. He's come out right ahead of him. He's going to have one lap better tyres. And I think Pointy's has made the jump. That's how the undercut works. Now Wezo, the leader of the race, dives into the pits. Will responds, also diving into the pits, and that gives the lead of the race back to the Ferrari. So Shane back out front. Wezo leaves the pits. Will enters the pits. This is Arno Koos. He's also on his way to his pit box. So lots of action in the pits. We're going to see a lot of changing in the timesheets. As things stand, Shane, new set of hards. Wezo in P2, brand new set of mediums. Then Kobus P3, also a new set of hards. So I think pretty much everyone in the field has been through their pit window. Nam Assassin still out there on a set of hards, 15 laps old. 14 laps old hards for Fuster. Everybody else has made a pit stop. Some of those cars will probably have to pit again. Well, saw there we go, Dan Rickfeld, he's got 11 lap old medium, so he is definitely going to have to pit again. Those are the cars that got damage early on in the race. They came into the pits, they lost a lot of time. As for Levy, he could have been one of those drivers. He was involved in an incident where basically went off circuit, lost a bunch of momentum, got back into the race, then had another incident just a few corners later, and when he finally got going again, he was right at the rear of the field. And after the pit window, now up into P6, shows you that overtaking is very, very possible at this circuit. Nikishin still comfortably ahead, maybe not trying anything silly just yet. Those two on similar tyres, both on hards. Nikishin 4 laps older. Of course those numbers won't be too crucial right now. While those numbers are low, doesn't really make too much of a difference if you're on 2 lap old hards or 4 lap old hards. But by the end of the race, you've got a 4 or 5 lap advantage on your tyres. It can make all of the difference. a quick update on the penalties column. See, there's 3 drivers now with penalties. One of them serious infringements. Will Arnokos and Dan Rickfeld, 3 seconds apiece. Those are obviously for going over the track limits, using more than the tarmac that is provided. Top 3, Shane, Wezo, Quibus. If you look at the field, this is a battle. Boinkies versus Lebby. That's not Boinkies, that's Nick Gishard versus Lebby, and Lebby comes out on top. So the Ferrari up into P5. And that Ferrari continues making up positions. And is it safe to say the Ferrari 1-2 could be on the cards? It would be tough though. Nick Gishard, his next target will be Boinkies. 2.5 seconds up the road from where he is now, so he does have a lot of ground to make up. Once he gets to Boinkies, he's going to have Quibus also in the very near vicinity. So basically once he catches the one car, he's got a second opponent right in front of him, but then it's going to be an entirely different battle to catch Wezo, because he's already 5 seconds up the road from Quibus. So the gaps are spreading out throughout the field. This is a result of a race without any safety cars. Sometimes the spectators, the people in the comment section, they hate the safety cars, they hate the breakages in the race. But this is what happens when you get absolutely none. The field does spread out. You don't get many DRS battles, and the overtakes do slow down. Lap 18 of 28. We do have a caution. It's now flashing on our screens for some reason, and hopefully it will go away. Yellow flags. The final points position. Kev, B10, defending from the second Salba. That's J-Boy in P11. The Namassassin in P12 is pretty far down the road. P12, 12 seconds adrift from P11. So this is the only driver that can threaten Kev at the moment. And you know, it's probably the worst car to have behind you. That neon green. Every time you look in your mirrors, there's no way you're going to miss it. Of course, that team won't be green for much longer. If it's able to hold on to that sponsor, it'll probably be pretty much the same next year. But come 2026, that car's going to look very different. It's going to become the German manufacturer Audi. And one of their cars will be driven by Nico Hülkenberg, who will drive the second car. Still awaiting news. Boinkies in P4, still in a battle for a podium. Can see Quibus right ahead of him. He's got the slightest of tyre advantages. Of course, at this stage of the race won't make a difference, just the one lap. It's really going to come down to how you manage those tyres. Are you throwing absolutely everything at that car? It means your tyres will degrade faster. Maybe you've got the pace and you're just doing a bit of tyre management. Everybody will be thinking something different. It's one thing from the comms box that we'll never know. It's just what's on the mind of these drivers. 8 laps to go. Race is approaching its final stint. Remember, once we get to lap 25, we can't have any breakages in the race. Saw a car going off there in the background. I think that was a Williams. There we go, it's still off in the background. Nick Geshen gets back on track eventually. Just struggled, went off the track initially, obviously got grass all over those tyres, tried to regain momentum and then just spun all over again. So Nick Geshen will be frustrated with himself. He's now in P11 and outside of the points. At the front, things have gone smoothly. 9.9 seconds is the gap, and we've just gone into double digits, 10 seconds. This is the man in P2, Wezo. Did a great job earlier on. He had his hands full with the Aston Martin of Kurbis. He had to keep his calm. Those two went side by side multiple times, switched positions multiple times. You don't keep your cool in a situation like that. Contact is inevitable. But he was able to stay away from contact. He was able to eventually get past Kurbis and pull away. He had the better tyre at the time. And now he's turned the tables. Kurbis had the medium in the first stint. Wezo was able to hold on to him with the hard. But for the second stint, Wezo's got the faster of the two. So Kurbis hasn't been able to hold on to the back of the Salva. He hasn't been able to come back at him. Boinkies. It's in P4. And he will start to come under pressure now from Levy. He'll notice that gap, 1.4 seconds. He'll see the proximity arrow starting to appear. Just start getting more aware of that Ferrari. Of course, as a driver, unless you're in communication, direct communication with the other drivers, he probably has no idea that Levy went all the way to the rear of the field and all the way back to P5. It's probably good that he doesn't know that. If he did, he'd know that Levy does not fear overtakes. So every time Boinkies looks at the gap, he'll be like, right, I need to get onto this, I need to get past Kurbis, put a car between me and the Ferrari. Levy just lost a bit of time there. The gap was down to 1.5 seconds. Now almost 2 seconds, so I think he may have just made a mistake. Further down the field, Nick Geshen still P11. I don't think he's going to be able to make up much ground with a aging set of hards. Kev in the points, P10, J-Boy P9, Arno Goos further down the field, and he's got a penalty next to his name, so he could effectively lose P8 if the checkered flag fell at this moment. Panda P7, just 3.4 seconds behind Will, who has a penalty, so Panda can just close that gap up within 3 seconds. He can take that position. Then we've got Levy in P5. He said he was falling back, and I should bite my tongue. It's coming right back at Kurbis now. Gap just 0.6 of a second. Boinkies in P3. Told you, he comes out of nowhere in the race. He's Mr. Anonymous in qualifying. Comes up the field through the race, pretty much unnoticed. And then towards the end of the race, you look at the podium and you go, how did he get there? And the answer is just consistent driving, consistent pace. Maybe not the quickest man on track tonight, but if you're just setting good laps consistently throughout the race, the many drivers that are quicker than you and make mistakes, well, they're going to finish behind you. No mistakes for P1 and P2 at the moment. That gap holding firm now, 10 seconds. It's been that way for about 2 laps. So not expanding, not getting any smaller. And it looks like P2 is safe. The gap now to P3, 7.7 seconds with just 5 laps to go. So if the Ferrari and the Sauber can just keep those cars in a straight line and to the checkered flag, I don't think they have too much to worry about. Boinkies, on the other hand, it's got Purvis 1.2 seconds down the road from him. And Purvis coming under all sorts of pressure. The Ferrari trying to now line him up, just get as close to him as he possibly can. You see the Ferrari took a slightly different line there through the hairpin. That's just to get as close to the diffuser of that Aston Martin so he can open up DRS and have a go, but he's not close enough. That is the usage of ERS, that is the usage of battery. That will be the main defense tool Purvis has at the moment. Levy will be well aware of that. He'll be trying to keep his battery charged up using just DRS. You see the hand go up, that suggests there was contact. We didn't see the contact. There they go again, side by side. Again, the camera just cuts away at the wrong time. Levy does make it past, and what an overtake it was around the outside. Levy up into P4. Is it still safe to say we might have a double Ferrari podium? But he's going to have to do a little bit more work before he can secure that. 1.7 seconds is the gap between him and the car up the road. Boinkies just sitting now behind a ghosting Mercedes. Depending on where that DRS trigger is, he might get DRS. He does get DRS. He can say thank you to that ghost car. It's just going to give him a little bit of a boost. It's going to help him catch Boinkies that a little bit more, as you can pick up 3 or 4 tenths down the DRS straight. Of course, it's even more effective when you're really close to the far ahead. So not only do you get DRS, you also get the slipstream. And wow, I don't think I've ever seen that happen. And on this channel there are 60 live streams of previous races, and I don't think I've ever seen a safety car activated with just 3 laps to go. Shane will probably not be pleased. Wezo, he was comfortable in P2, accepting the position, and now we have a safety car in the closing stages of the race. Not sure how this is going to play out. Are we going to have a 1-lap shootout? I think that may be the case. We might just have a 1-lap shootout. We've seen one-shot quali before in the past. Or we might just get a one-shot race. After all of that, after all of the action, after all of the fighting, the building up of gaps, the tyre maintenance, whatever else you were doing out on track, this could come down to just a 1-lap shootout. Of course, it depends how long the safety car will be out. The field is pretty spread out. Shane does come into the pits, so he'll get rid of those hards. He'll probably put on a set of softs if he does have a new set of softs available to him. Should be able to hold on to that lead. Everybody else is driving around under safety car speeds. And Wezo has also pit. This is where things get interesting. This whole race we've had gaps getting bigger and bigger, battles becoming less and less likely, but now those gaps have been taken away. Looks like Levy has decided to hold on to track position, so he has not made the pit stop, and that's put the second Ferrari up into P2. He's going to have to hold on to that position with 12 lap old hards. Suggests those hards still do have some life in them, but will they be up to scratch against brand new mediums from Wezo? Of course, I don't think we've ever seen a race end under safety car on the game. I don't but the field is still pretty close together. It's only lap 26 of 28, but if we do get another lap, well, we're going to get a 1 or 2 lap shootout right at the end here. Of course, causes a stressful situation when you've just got 1 or 2 laps, most of the field on brand new tires. Everybody sees an opportunity. If you were coming to terms with finishing P5, P6, now all of a sudden you've just got 2 laps and you can literally see the leader. And of course, don't count out the likes of Wezo. He's been quick throughout the race. He hasn't had quite enough to stay with Shane. But this now is going to be a very different situation. Gonna have to do the restart all over again, get the tire temps up all over again, and more importantly, get through turn 1 all over again at a race restart. Safety car is pulling off into the distance, so that means we're going to go over the line and it'll be lap 27 of 28. So we're going to have 2 laps remaining. A 2-lap shootout to the end of the race. Well, I'm going to stop saying the safety car safe zone is 3 laps from the end of the race, because apparently it's not. Shane leads the way. Levy P2 is going to come under pressure early on from the cell, but was there contact there? Almost looked like there was a bit of a nudge, but I can't confirm that. Panda in P4, it's followed closely by Boinkies, Quibus in P6, followed by his teammate Will. Arnokos P8 on a brand new set of softs. Of course, he can throw everything at those softs. Basically a quali lap. You don't have to worry about tire management. Just need to get to the end of the race, and Shane's making no mistakes. 2.4 seconds up the road. As for his teammate though, he's got his hands full. Of course, this first lap after safety car you get no DRS, but Wezo will have DRS for the final lap of the race. It's going to be very difficult for Levy to hold on to that P2. Of course, he's a quick driver, but right now he just doesn't have the tools. He's got an aging set of hard tires, while everyone behind him has brand new mediums or softs. What will Levy do? Will he hold on to the position, or does the Salber go up the inside? Remember, getting past is one thing, getting it stopped is quite another. The Salber has completed both of those tasks and gets back up into P2 where he was before the safety car. Shane, Wezo and now Levy. While Levy did make up positions, he's going to be desperate to hold on to those positions now. Boinky's right behind him. Wasn't able to defend from Wezo on the mediums. Now he's going to have to defend from Boinky's on the softs. It's going to be even more difficult. Those softs are going to have a lot of grip on offer. Those hards will probably be starting to squirm around. If Levy is somehow able to hold on to this podium, what a recovery drive it will have been. And you know, it's not one of those recovery drives you can say a safety car was the only reason. Made up a lot of positions all on his own. Shane P1, Wezo P2, those 2 drivers look pretty comfortable. Then we've got Levy in P3, far from comfortable. Is he going to be able to hold on to this? Hopefully he's charged up all of his battery. Don't know if the battery's going to be able to save him though. Boinkies goes alongside, and I think he's going to get past way before the corner. Yes, he does. Boinkies up into P3. And Levy could lose another. He does. Quibus leaving it late. Not sure Levy saw that coming. But Quibus was not able to get it stopped. Levy will hold on to P4. Shane's already taken the checkered flag, as has Wezo. That's P1 and 2. And then Boinkies steals the podium in the penultimate corner. of the race. It's just a little further down the field, still waiting for some cars to go over the start finish line. I think Fuster will be the final car over that start finish line. Assassin going over the line now. And what a race it was. The first part of the race, pretty clean, no penalties. Then penalties started appearing. Gaps started to form. And just as we thought the race had come to an end and the script had been written, safety car came out as late as I've ever seen a safety car come out. Seems like Fuster's come into the pits. That's one way to finish a race. Now we'll just wait for those official results so that the game can work out all the penalties for me. Or some drivers would have gone up the field, some would have gone down. That's a very late safety car. You're not able to cancel out your penalties. So brief look at the podium. And there are your official results. Shane P1, Wezo P2, Pointies P3. Then they're followed by Lebby just losing the podium, penultimate corner. Querbus P5, J-Boy P6, Zero to Cool P7, Stoffel P8, Will P9, and Arno Goos picks up the last available point. Not in the points tonight, Kev P11, followed by Panda, Assassin, Fuster P14. And then Cowboy 15, 3 retirements, Secret, Nick Gishin, Dan Rietveld, and Rota. Of course, now we will just pause for a minute or two. Top 3 drivers as well as driver of the day are invited to the NFR cool down room. We'll invite you into the comms box. We can have a little bit of a chat about your race. Of course, it's not mandatory, but I hope to see you in the comms box in a minute or two from now. Hopefully we'll just see if the drivers have come in soon. I'm just having my Discord doesn't want to open up. So just give me a minute or two. Hopefully we'll get some drivers in here. We can have a chat. It was a very interesting race. It's a race that when we thought it was all over, it was far from it. Still nothing. Apologies for my stubborn computer. Sometimes it's a little quicker, sometimes we have nights like tonight.
Hi, Fernando. Yeah, no, luckily I was in two minds about putting to go onto the sauce. I didn't know where I was going to put to go to also change side. Luckily it did, otherwise it would have been ahead of me. Yeah, I think yeah, that did me a favor, putting himself between myself and Weze. There were three left to go. Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. No, that does. But I mean, I'm thankful for the safety car gave me fastest lap as well. So, which I'm great. Yep. Yeah, quality lap at the end.